Why trading without a written plan always ends the same. You can almost predict it, not the market, the outcome. Whenever someone tells me they're trading without a written plan, I already know how it's going to end. Not because I'm smart, not because I can see the future, but because I've watched this exact story play out again and again, including in my own account. It all starts with confidence. I know what I'm doing. I've seen this setup before. I don't need to write it down. And for a while, that belief feels true. I remember one morning clearly, coffee still hot, charts open, EUR USD on the screen. I'd been watching it for days. In my head, the plan was perfect. Wait for price to pull back to the moving average, look for confirmation, enter clean, stop below support, target the next resistance. Simple, controlled, logical. None of it was written down. Then price started moving faster than I expected. It touched the level, but the confirmation wasn't there. No clear signal, just a small pause in price, the kind of thing I would normally ignore. But instead of waiting, a thought slipped in. Maybe this is enough. Maybe this time it moves without me. Maybe I should just take it. So I did. The moment I clicked buy, everything changed. My heart rate picked up. My attention narrowed. Price moved a few pips in my favor, and I felt that quiet relief, that dangerous one, the one that says, "See, you were right." And right there, my plan disappeared. Price turned, slowly at first, then faster. It pushed past the level where my stop was supposed to be, the stop I never actually placed. And instead of exiting, I started negotiating. It'll come back. It always does. Just give it a little more room. Then the worst decision followed the first bad one. I added to the trade, told myself I was improving my average, watching red numbers grow while convincing myself I was being strategic. By the time I finally closed the position, 2 weeks of progress were gone. Not because the market was unfair, not because the setup was bad, but because the moment emotion entered, nothing was anchored anymore. That's the real problem most traders never see. It's not strategy, it's not indicators, it's not intelligence. It's that the human brain is not built to stay rational when money is on the line. When a trade is live, your brain doesn't care about probabilities. It cares about pain, about avoiding loss, about protecting your ego. The part of you making decisions in that moment isn't the calm, logical version that planned the trade. It's the reactive one. And without something written, something external, that version takes over. Rules become suggestions. Stops become flexible. Targets drift. You're no longer executing, you're responding. That's why trading without a written plan always ends the same, not in one dramatic blow-up, but in a slow erosion. One small exception, one justified adjustment, one emotional decision stacked on another, until the account tells the truth you didn't want to hear. Most traders think discipline is something you summon in the moment, like willpower, like focus. But discipline doesn't work that way. Under pressure, you don't rise to your best thinking. You fall to whatever is prepared. And if nothing is written, nothing is prepared. After that loss, I finally understood something that sounds obvious but changes everything. A plan that lives in your head doesn't exist. The second emotion shows up, it gets rewritten. So I started writing everything down. Not beautifully, not perfectly, just clearly. What qualifies as a trade, what disqualifies it, where I enter, where I exit if I'm wrong, how much I risk, when I do nothing. It felt boring, almost uncomfortable, like I was draining the excitement out of trading. But that boredom was the point, because boring removes decision-making, and fewer decisions mean fewer emotional mistakes. Something strange happened after that. My trades didn't suddenly become winners, but my losses stopped spiraling. I stopped arguing with myself. When a stop was hit, it was hit. When a setup wasn't there, I stayed flat. The plan didn't predict the market, it protected me from myself. That's the shift most traders never make. They think a plan is about control. It's not. It's about containment. It keeps your worst impulses from having access to your capital. Every consistently profitable trader I've met has this in common. Not a secret indicator, not a magical system, a written plan they follow even when it feels uncomfortable, especially when it feels uncomfortable. Because the moment you feel the urge to break the rules is the moment the rules matter most. There's another benefit people ignore. Writing forces honesty. You can't hide behind vague memories. You can review your trades and see exactly where you followed the plan and where you didn't. Growth becomes measurable instead of emotional. Without that, you don't learn. You just rationalize. You blame the market. You blame news. You blame timing. Anything except the absence of structure. And I've seen where that road leads. Accounts slowly drained. Confidence quietly destroyed. Traders convinced the market is rigged when the real issue was never the market at all. Some people say they need flexibility, that they trade fast, that they don't have time to write things down. But flexibility without structure is just chaos with a better excuse. A written plan doesn't make you rigid, it gives you boundaries. It tells you how to adapt without self-destructing. No plan will guarantee wins, nothing can, but a written plan guarantees something far more important, that no single trade gets to decide your future. So if you're trading right now with everything clear in your head, pause for a moment. Look back honestly. How many of your losses came from the market, and how many came from decisions you made after the trade was already live? Trading without a written plan isn't confidence, it's exposure. And it always ends the same way. Not because you're incapable, but because emotion always wins when there's nothing concrete to stand against it. Write the plan, not to predict, not to be perfect, but to survive long enough to be consistent. Because without it, you're not really trading, you're just gambling. And we already know how that story ends.